Today in the show, Chelsea issues a strict ultimatum to Manchester City, demanding 140 million euros for Enzo Fernández. Meanwhile, Liverpool enters the home stretch in negotiations for Bradley Barcola, and Galatasaray dispatches an official bid to Arsenal for Gabriel Martinelli. We talk about all this and much more right now. Atletico Madrid has wrapped up a high-profile deal for the transfer of 28-year-old Argentine Tottenham central defender Christian Romero, agreeing a comprehensive financial package with the Londoners worth 40 million euros, including all performance add-ons. The Madrid club won an exhausting race for the World Cup winner, leaving rivals empty-handed. A move to Inter collapsed due to the Milanese side's inability to match the player's high salary demands. Barcelona rejected the deal at the board level alongside manager Hansi Flick, and a route to Arsenal was flatly blocked by Spurs due to the fierce North London rivalry. Diego Simeone secured his primary defensive target, for whom the Madrid side agreed to preserve his salary in full at around 7 million euros per year on a 4-year contract featuring an option to extend for one more season. The player is already preparing to fly out for his medical examination. For Tottenham, selling one of their highest-paid performers earning over 12 million euros per year represented a calculated move. The English side not only retained a 15% sell-on clause for any future resale of the defender, but also prepared a replacement in advance. Spurs manager Roberto De Zerbi pushed through the transfer of 26-year-old Dutchman Jan-Paul van Hecke from Brighton, whom he knows inside out from working together at Brighton. Furthermore, the Londoners reinforced their squad depth with Marcos Senesi from Bournemouth and extended Mickey van de Ven on a 5-year contract, fully assembling a revamped central defense tailored to the Italian manager's tactical demands. Chelsea issued a harsh ultimatum to Manchester City, setting a deadline of 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon London time to conclude the transfer of 25-year-old Argentine midfielder Enzo Fernández. The London club demands a fixed sum of 140 million euros for the player, alongside strict conditions for an aggressive upfront cash payment schedule. In the event of a refusal or attempts to drive down the price before Friday evening, the Londoners will permanently shut down negotiations. The arrival of the Argentine is personally insisted upon by Citizens manager Enzo Maresca, who previously worked with the footballer. Despite active contact between the parties over recent days, the London Giants' position remains completely relaxed. The Argentine holds an active deal running for 6 more years, is launching no walkouts, and the club will happily retain him in the squad if the Manchester side fails to meet their financial demands. Purely from a capital standpoint, Manchester City possesses full capability to close this deal, yet the club finds itself caught in a complex financial and tactical web. The Manchester side has already spent a record 135 million euros to sign Elliot Anderson and is preparing funds for a final 80 million euro offer for Moroccan talent Ayoub Boadi. The Manchester club firmly insists on executing this transfer during the current window, discarding the initial plan to leave the young midfielder on loan until 2027, as the player himself, alongside his agents, gave full consent to an immediate move. The club plans to cover these expenditures through a massive outflow of talent. Saudi side Al Qadsiya is close to wrapping up the transfer of 28-year-old Dutch midfielder Tijani Reinders for 60 million euros. Negotiations to sell Rodri to Barcelona for 65 million euros have entered the home stretch. James Trafford was profitably sold for 55 million euros, and around 65 million euros is expected for Savinho. Such unimpeded financial flexibility from the citizens under Chelsea's ultimatum raises logical skepticism across the football community, as many are simultaneously uneasy about the fate of the high-profile case involving 115 financial charges against the club. Although, as far as is known, the behind-closed-doors legal battle continues at an extremely tense pitch, where the delay in a verdict is explained by decades' worth of documentation and the retention of Britain's most expensive attorneys, while 19 other Premier League clubs are drawing up lawsuits seeking hundreds of millions. Nevertheless, those at the Etihad remain convinced of their innocence and have no intention of pausing their transfer campaign due to court proceedings. The main risk lies elsewhere. If Manchester City management yields under deadline pressure and shells out 140 million euros at Chelsea's request, it will shatter their long-standing negotiation strategy and establish a dangerous precedent where every European giant dictates terms to them right down to the final minutes of the transfer window. Aston Villa has agreed personal terms on a contract with 31-year-old Portuguese Bayern holding midfielder João Palhinha, who has officially informed the Munich club's hierarchy of his desire to return to the English Championship. The Portuguese gave a clear green light to the move, and the Birmingham side is currently preparing a new round of direct club talks. The primary disagreement between the parties lies in the transaction format. The Villains favor a loan with an option to buy, whereas the German giant insists on a permanent sale of the midfielder for 45 million euros. Unai Emery views the Portuguese as a pivotal element to fortify central midfield following Yuri Tielemans' departure to United. In parallel, Aston Villa is exploring options to bolster their forward line and monitoring the situation surrounding 25-year-old Senegalese Chelsea forward Nicholas Jackson. The Birmingham manager knows the striker inside out from working together at Villarreal and is personally interested in a reunion, but currently this involves merely a query regarding terms rather than advanced negotiations. The primary roadblock remains the Londoners' unyielding stance, flatly rejecting loan formulas and demanding at least 75 million euros for a permanent sale of the player. Chelsea is operating with extreme aggression in the transfer market right now. Consequently, owing to financial fair play constraints, the Birmingham side is for now merely assessing its resources while granting absolute priority to wrapping up Palhinha's transfer. Liverpool has entered the home stretch in direct club negotiations regarding the transfer of 23-year-old French PSG wide forward Bradley Barcola, expecting to close a major deal before the current transfer window shuts. The situation surrounding the player shifted radically following the UEFA Super Cup match against Aston Villa, where the Frenchman spent all 90 minutes on the bench and demonstratively abstained from celebrating the victory alongside the team. A public line under the rumors was drawn by Parisian president Nasser Al-Khelaifi himself, who candidly acknowledged the winger's altered status in comments for Canal+.
"We work calmly, we don't speak too much, we act. I cannot say whether he will leave or not. Today he is a PSG player, and beyond that we will see."
The club president's statement served as the first official signal that the player is no longer untouchable. Personal contract terms with the footballer himself are fully agreed, and the player firmly refused to extend his deal with the Parisians running through 2028 in order to join the project managed by Andoni Iraola. The financial duel between the clubs underwent an exhausting evolution. At the start of the transfer window, PSG slapped on an astronomical price tag reaching up to 160 million euros. Meanwhile, Liverpool immediately took a firm stance, making it clear they would not pay over 100 million euros for a player who turned down a contract extension and seeks to switch teams. Currently, under heavy pressure from the footballer himself and due to a massive domino effect unfolding, the Parisians' initial demands have dropped substantially. The French giant has already completed the transfer of Magnez Akliouche for 50 million euros, agreed Ferran Torres' move from Barcelona for 55 million euros, and is holding active talks for Mika Götze from Ajax. Currently, the Parisians' forward line is overcrowded, rendering Barcola's transfer virtually inevitable. The final financial compromise will settle at a mark of 120 to 125 million euros, including all add-ons, where the guaranteed portion will stand at 100 to 110 million euros, with another 15 to 20 million euros split into complex structured installments tied to future Premier League and Champions League titles. This domino effect automatically triggers the next major transfer maneuver. Buying the French forward at Anfield unlocks Cody Gakpo's move to Tottenham. In parallel, the Merseysiders made contact with influential agent George Mendes regarding PSG's 18-year-old wide talent Ibrahim Mbaye, but French club executives quoted an excessively high price, leading the Reds to abandon that transfer. Following Mohamed Salah's exit, Liverpool management is exploring a double strike to sign 2 wingers before the window closes, with Bradley Barcola remaining priority number 1 for the left attacking flank. Galatasaray dispatched an official offer to Arsenal in the amount of 45 million euros regarding the transfer of 25-year-old Brazilian wide forward Gabriel Martinelli, making the winger their primary target in the transfer market. The Istanbul side sent documentation to the London club's board and expressed readiness to raise their bid if the Gunners decide to push for an increased financial package. The Brazilian's active contract runs through 2027, with an option for an automatic 12-month extension held by the club, handing the Londoners a strong bargaining position. For Mikel Arteta, this proposal presents a serious transfer dilemma, as Arsenal has already sold Leandro Trossard to Besiktas this summer for 20 million euros, including add-ons, and signed Christos Solis for 40 million euros. Recouping 45 million euros from selling Martinelli would provide the Londoners with a budget to sign another calculated attacking performer before the window closes. Though if no worthy replacement can be found, the club will simply trigger the winger's contract extension clause. The query for Martinelli served as the Istanbul side's direct response to a dead end in negotiations with Milan for 27-year-old Portuguese wide forward Rafael Leao. Galatasaray made several approaches to the Italian giant, first submitting a loan with option to buy offer for 35 million euros and subsequently an improved document at 40 million euros, yet the Milanese issued flat rejections on both occasions. The Rossoneri hierarchy considers the 40 million euro figure undervalued and demands strictly 50 million euros or more for their asset, as the Portuguese player's contract runs through 2028. Leao himself had already consented to the Turkish move after the Istanbul side agreed to pay him an astronomical wage of 10 million euros per year, but Milan's unyielding stance forced Galatasaray to shift focus to Martinelli. Most likely, Milan made a severe error by failing to sell Leao for 40 million, as nobody on the European market will offer that kind of money for him again.
Italia!